What's going on, everyone? So the San Antonio Spurs obviously have the number 2 pick in this upcoming draft, as well as the 14th pick. Now, the number 2 pick, they are fully expected to take Dylan Harper. They have listened and, entertained the potential of trading the number 2 pick, but that is just, it's been more just due diligence, right? The reports even came out that they want an absolute blowaway offer, that they're not going to just, take any old offer. They want an absolute haul. And even like the report said that something too much that no one sees an executive actually doing, which if you're the Spurs, that's what you do, right? Like if you're the Spurs, you're out there like, hey, this is our guy. This is the franchise guy. If you believe he is your guy that you can build your franchise around, well, guess what? It's going to cost you, because he's the guy that we can build our franchise around. And yes, we have Wemby and all this other stuff. It doesn't matter what we have. You don't have it, right? And if you want it, well, guess what? It's going to cost you. Again, that's what he should do. If a team like the Wizards are willing to give Bilal in the 6th pick and Alexander Sarr and 2 future firsts, it's like, all right, even if he does become, a top 5 player in the league, this is a very understandable type of, like, you can justify that type of trade, right? Like, but at the end of the day, I expect them to fully pick and draft a Dylan Harper. But the 14th pick is where I think things get a little interesting. One, you could absolutely draft him. Brian, like there's several guys I did entire videos and deep dives into those guys. So into potential 14th pick guys. So I definitely think that there are multiple options in that regard. And look, if we're being honest, the Spurs have several needs, right? The Spurs, not only because Dylan Harper, he's going to be another guard. Right? Well, you still need 3 and D wings. Obviously, they have Harrison Ingram. We'll see if he's able to kind of take some strides and maybe become even a rotation guy. You got Julian Champagnie, but still kind of like Champagnie off the bench more than your starter, especially if you're trying to win here. It just as a rotation guy, fine. But I think you need a clear-cut 3, 4, or if you wanted to go get that clear-cut center and then move Wemby to the 4. I think Wemby's more than capable of playing the 4, plus his ability to stretch the floor. And he wants to shoot, 8 to 10 threes a game. So it'd be better if he was a forward and then he could kind of do that and have the free range rather than, hey, you're a center. We want you to help offensive rebound and, score around the rim and the basket and do things that a center is supposed to do, not just play out on the perimeter, right? Which is fine. No, he's developing and stuff. Yeah. I think part of that is the Spurs just kind of, letting him develop in real time rather than like, hey, this is the way we're going to play. This is the way we're going to utilize you, right? But nonetheless, right, the 14th pick. The original idea seemed to be trading that to go get a star, right? Go get a Kevin Durant. That was kind of the big talk, right? They're going to go and pull off a trade for Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, that was his preferred team. That was the preferred destination. Kevin Durant's camp wants him to go there. Kevin Durant wants to go there. They can put a package together to go get Kevin Durant. All of that noise, all of those talks, all of that conversation that we saw. And it, at moments looked like it was going to come. For there were several moments where it looked like, hey, this thing might be heating up. And then obviously, he ends up going to the Houston Rockets, so obviously those things didn't really heat up. And that's why I always say, right, all of these rumors and reports and speculation, all that stuff is just that. Rumors, reports, speculation, right? Take it all with a grain of salt always, right? Everything is speculative until it actually happens, right? And look, there are things that actually do happen that fall through all the time. I mean, there have been literal trades that have been vetoed in our league. There have been trades that have gotten down to the final minute and then somebody just decides to pull out, right? There have been players that were signing somewhere and got barricaded into their house so that way they couldn't leave until they signed a contract. We've seen all kinds of crazy stuff, right? For those that remember the DeAndre Jordan Dallas Maverick situation with the Clippers. But point is like nothing is done until it's done. Right? I mean, even the Kevin Durant to Houston deal, that can't be finalized till July 6th. So, if for whatever reason Houston goes, never mind, we changed our mind. I don't think that they would, but if somebody changes their mind, there that goes, right? But point is that fell through. So what do you do now? I think that the Spurs are in a win-win position regardless. I don't think it's like, oh no, worst case scenario, you have to draft another potential quality player. And look, well, and it's technically a lottery pick. It's actually the last lottery pick. But, anytime you're drafting, it's always a gamble. It's always a risk. Whether you draft Dylan Harper with number 2 or you draft somebody with the 14th pick, no matter what, there is a chance that 14th pick is a superstar and Dylan Harper ends up becoming a bust or an average player. Right? You never know. There have been a lot of just surefire, this guy's going to be it. And whether it's injuries or a guy can't get out of his own way or just never, develops into that guy or just hits that wall and is never to get over it, or, there's a million things. We have seen so many players in this league that people swore were going to be great and were clear-cut, no-brainer. You can't miss with this guy, and they end up flopping and flailing and things like that. So, again, nothing is guaranteed, but when you're talking about this, there's always that guy that, with the 15th pick turns into one of the best players of all time, right? Or a guy that was drafted during a Taco Bell commercial in the second round, for those that know the players that I'm talking about right now, right? Like, you never know what a player is going to be. And that guy that you draft at 14 could be the difference between you winning 1 or 5 NBA championships. I mean, look, Spurs have gotten guys in the second round and late in the first round and all that stuff that have been guys, right? So, again, you trust the process. If a deal's there and you can pull something out, then you pull it off, right? Obviously, right? But I also don't want to see them trade the pick just to trade the pick. I mean, you look at last year with the 8th pick, they kicked the can down the road, kind of, right? They went and traded what was Rob Dillingham, to the Minnesota Timberwolves to kind of kick the can down the road and get future picks. Could they maybe do something like that again? Sure. Right? What could you get? Because, I mean, if you're going to, this draft is looked at as a very deep draft, right? Not like deep in the sense of like superstars, but deep in the sense of like, hey, you can get some real rotation guys. You can get, that's not counting the out like that random guy, like I said, at 14 that ends up becoming a star, right? So my thing is that like there is the potential that you end up, kind of kicking the can down the road, but I don't want to see them kick the can down the road for just like another pick. Like, oh, we're going to, instead of drafting 14th, we're just going to take another team's 2031 pick. Like, I don't want to see that. Right? Like, you need to do what you did last year, which is like, hey, we're kicking this can down the road, but for 2 future first, right? Like that kind of makes more sense. An unprotected first and then another, like that makes more sense. But like with this, in this scenario, I'd prefer them to keep it. Now there's always the possibility that not even a star, right? Like, I wouldn't hate like a Cameron Johnson, a Herb Jones, a Trey Murphy, like guys like that I've talked about. It doesn't even have to necessarily be a superstar or a star or anything like that. Can you just go get a quality rotation piece or, maybe a guy that's a little more proven, right? Like even if that 14th pick does, because even if it's just somebody that because you got to keep in mind, I mean, how many young, inexperienced guys can you have? At some point you got to start paying guys. At some point, if you can get a guy, especially with Wemby, basically this year and next, and then he's going to have to start getting paid. And, Fox and his contract, and then Stephon Castle in a couple years is going to need his, and then you're going to get Dylan Harper and all that stuff. Right? Like, I would, if you can, kind of get a guy that maybe is even on a long-term deal. Like, I don't hate the idea of, like, getting a guy, if it's the right guy, that's, like, on a 3 or 4 year deal that is already locked in as the salary cap keeps increasing every year, and it's like, this is a guy that can really help us. I don't want it to be just some random player where you're like, why did you do it? Like, if you can get a fit or a need, solve one of your forward spots or, solve your center position or solve, even if it's just like a bench rotation guy, even if it's like, hey, we just got a solid backup center, a Day'Ron Sharp or something like that, right? It's like, oh, cool. Like, you got a guy that can come in and be that backup, and he's still young and develop and all that, and you're signing him to a new contract that's going to, give him, No, 4 years. So you got him basically locked up 4 years. I wouldn't hate something like that. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Pass question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Now, subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.